Our ancestors built the first city as a beacon of peace on Earth. And it almost was. Until one night, an unseen force plucked it from the very face of the Earth and placed it under unfamiliar stars. It was a bountiful world with no sign of civilization. A world we named Paragon. With no way to return home, we adapted. New governments were built from the seeds of our past, and with them grew new ways of life. But the vices of old still festered. Organized crime bled out from the shadows and took root, preying on the foundation of our new home. But this world had one more surprise in store. A mysterious element in the atmosphere that gave a fraction of the population superhuman abilities. Under the leadership of the city's first hero, the Age of Legends had begun. 300 years later, Paragon thrives under the protection of its champions. And yet, the shadows of the past still linger. When darkness rises, it will fall to the next generation of young heroes to defend the first city.
Welcome to The First City, the show that's 50% first, 50% city, and 1% extra spicy. Yeah.
Math.
I feel like that was, yeah. Did we need to workshop that one? I don't think so.
I need
I
you
like
guys
it.
to know that he said, I'm questioning my opening statement, and then just went with it anyway.
Yes, I did.
Before we get recording.
And I feel
love
good about
Amanda
it,
commits.
considering where we left off.
Yes.
And in the spirit of dealing with this, shall I just say a previously on The First City? The group arrived after a day of training back at their home to find a somewhat distraught and serious Pantheon and Jeremy in their living room, where they were sat down to a discussion that was most enlightening, as Pantheon described to you that the man from Jeremy's memory was in fact Vitriol, who is one of the most famous and most dead villains in the history of the First City. And even more disturbing, perhaps, is that nearly 25 years ago, along with Fortress, Pantheon actually trained Vitriol, who was at that time known as Veritas, a student of the Moonlight Academy. There was another piece of information that she would not share, and a piece of information that she claimed Veritas was not ready to hear, something she cites as the reason that everything went sour with him. And after much deliberation, that information was still not revealed. However, upon hearing that the director of AID, Albert Rose, was finally going to make a public appearance and a public statement, you heard from BB's mother, Dr. Baker, that you were finally going to be able to visit Blackstone Prison and speak with Silencer, which you did, uncovering quite a bit of interesting information, assuming the Silencer is to be believed. Most notably, that, according to her, Dr. Tara Baker, before the Project Recreate was actually greenlit, she tested her cloning procedure on herself, complicit with Jeremy's parents, who were working with her in some secret facility, again, according to Silencer, who then disposed of the evidence, that is, the clones of Tara Baker, after the fact. You also learned some interesting information about Kate, who you heard about before, but who actually maybe has some sort of connection to this strange, shadowy entity you've been seeing around. But at the end of it all, the end of your meeting, you watched a broadcast of Jeremy's actions at the very public speech of Mr. Albert Rose. After
choices
Albert,
that Jeremy made.
the choices he
Yeah,
made.
yeah.
After Albert Rose tendered a very public resignation and a statement that the laws would no longer shackle him from revealing the truth about the person at the heart of this mystery, Jeremy made a very, very public appearance with flaming images and a flaming bird leading back to himself, standing over a manhole cover, waited a few seconds, and then dove in, running back to wherever it is he's trying to escape to. And we pick up there, Jeremy, as you are covering this manhole back up and beginning to run down the sewer. Darkened all around you, but for your own light. You hear those footsteps off behind you, but you hear another sound. A sound like a sonic boom. Just and then a hard landing. Pretty nearby behind you to where you entered into the sewer. Now, given your description, considering that you, in your words, waited a couple seconds and then jumped into the sewer, what we're going to do here is I'm going to have you make an agility check to try and outrun whoever is pursuing you here. And depending on how this goes, we'll find out pretty quickly who that is.
Gotta go fast, bro.
Choices Jeremy made.
And if there's anything extra that you're doing here, any skills you might have or things besides just running you might want to try, just let me know.
Well, he's definitely going to be making firewalls behind him.
In the sewer.
Yeah, in the sewer. What
With
was
all
that?
the methane.
Yeah.
He controls all fire. He's going to make sure it doesn't explode.
Okay. It's still going to be, I'm still going to need that agility check first to see how far you get before someone catches up. Because it was not much of a secret where you went.
Okay. I'll accept that city planning.
And you're telling me they didn't see a man set a bunch of fire and then immediately look away from him at something else as he disappears into the night?
I know, amazing.
We can let that go. That's fine. Not gonna lie, when you said Sonic Boom, I heard in my head the ghost of the Game Grumps go, Sonic Boom!
All right. What do we got?
1 out of 1.
1 out of 1. Okay. So, as you're running, you turn around to throw up a firewall. And before you are able to get the first wall of fire off, you make it, let's say, 25 feet, because that is still a full success for you. So in terms of it being a full success for you, you make it about as far as you can reasonably run in like a turn of combat, for example, right? So probably somewhere in the 25, 30 feet range down. You look behind to throw up that firewall and you see landing down into the sewer, surrounded by this shimmering, almost field of energy, a young woman with sort of dark black eyeshadow, this choppy black mohawk that looks like sprayed to high hell, right? It's like all the way back and then down her back. You see the top layer of her outfit that's sort of blowing with the impact of her landing is this deep, dark blue, almost purple, but mostly in like the dark blue range. Essentially like sleeveless coat. And it's over top of a uniform that's very familiar to you. It's gray and black with an emblem in the center on her chest that has the image of a bullet on it, like a stylized bullet. And you know full well that this is a member of the Arbiters, specifically Black Bullet.
Yo.
And as she stares you down, I'm gonna have an initiative roll happen here. because she caught up to you and she sees you. But we're gonna see if a wall of fire or the next thing she's gonna do can happen first. That first roll was to see if she catches up to you before you're out of sight, which she did.
Oh God.
Let's go.
Let's go.
Ooh, we don't love that.
Yeah, don't you only have one dice for
Yeah.
finish? Oh no. Oh no.
Yeah, 0.
0, okay. Well,
Wait. Well, you can't get a 0.
Oh,
on
wait,
initiative.
3.
oh yeah, because you have to count it up.
Oh, okay.
I know my own game mechanics.
0.
3, you
Dead
say?
immediately.
Yeah, unfortunately, considering who Black Bullet is, and we're about to see a display of her power, so I'm not gonna bother explaining it before it happens. But Jeremy will certainly know this. This is a very public figure. She is very much an agility-based hero. So with a 19,
Oh boy. Oh, Jeremy.
Get nasty.
Oh, Grace.
you throw up that wall of fire that you were intending to, if that is still your plan. But you see, before you're able to do that, as you're summoning the will to do so, you see the sewer water around her as she seems to press herself into the ground, rise up in droplets, and then that sonic boom sound again, but this time echoing all throughout. And as you see this bullet-like display of energy as she just charges headfirst, launching herself through the air at breakneck speed straight down, you see the walls of the sewer almost seem to crack at the force of the sheer energy that she is flying towards you with. Now I'm gonna see if she hits,
Oh God.
and I need you to roll your dodge check. As she sails right past, you see your fire come up behind her. She was faster than it.
I love her. I'm just gonna say right now, I love her.
I keep rolling sixes.
Oh no, Jeremy.
Jeremy is not looking good, but
1 success out of 1.
Okay, so on a 7, she does hit you, and you feel the sheer impact.
Counterpoint,
Yes.
my ability to mitigate anybody after they hit me.
Mm-hmm.
So, what is a success on a power die?
7 to 12?
7 to 12, yeah.
Okay. Well then, I don't know if she's trying to hurt me.
You feel her arms actually wrap around you, and even though you feel the impact, she carries you about 10 feet further down the sewer. You realize that she's controlled it, spun her body around, corkscrewed almost, to grab you and roll in midair. She lands on her feet and skids backwards. And you're now like held in the arms of this person, and you kind of want to throw up a little bit, but you don't.
Well, on my reaction then, that is 15 points of fire damage to her
Yo.
as it explodes out of me as per my reaction.
Okay. So she takes that fire damage right as she's about to start to say, Jeremy, I need you to get up! And with 15 points of fire damage, I think she does instinctively... Actually, let's give her a willpower check. Let's give her a willpower check.
ooh,
That
Gonna
makes
be-
sense to me.
that's a lot of damage, though.
So she only rolls 1 out of 3, so she does drop you.
Hey.
Hey.
And then she cocks a brow and sort of like brushes some of the ember away from her hair, and then looks at you and goes, not the right move.
Are we in initiative or something?
Between you and her, technically now you are. That was only a reaction though, so it is your turn again.
Then he'll say, yeah, well, sometimes even the smartest do really dumb things, and he'll grab his phone and he'll signal Nova for assistance.
Okay.
With that special thingamajig we talked about all the way back in like episode 2 or 3.
Okay. Is it sending out a location?
Yeah, so it would override the whole Wi-Fi location blocker. But this is like an SOS. Oh shit, I fucked up, please.
Okay, so that's what you do on your turn. All right. So you do that. Then it goes to back over to her turn again. You see her reach up and go, yeah, not a bad plan, actually. And she goes, I've got Johnson down in the sewers. Intercept. And you do see on the other end of the sewer, coming from another direction, presumably another manhole, like on the other end, you hear the sound of like jet turbines just sailing through, and you see almost like headlights in this sort of electric blue sailing down around that corner. And then you see hovering a couple of inches off the ground is another of the arbiters whose name is Tin Man. And you see a like very bulky but still very sleek segmented armor suit with these stylized gauntlets, a faceplate in front, but you can see behind the tinted orange of the faceplate that there is the face of a very handsome, kind of skinny young man. He looks Indian with like curly black hair, and he's hovering there, and he puts his two hands up to initiate something. You're not sure what exactly he's going to do, but as you see a field begin to emanate from his hands, there's this rush of energy, a sound that you know very well. And as the energy of whatever it is Tin Man was about to do does not hit you, you see Pantheon standing there.
Oh boy.
For just a moment, just long enough to survey the situation. She is in full costume. She looks back at him. You hear him react, but it's not in the voice you would expect, perhaps, unless you know who Tin Man is. But you actually hear a voice generated from his gauntlets, from speakers in his gauntlets, as he signs, essentially like, uh-oh. Black Bullet moves to intercept again, and you're starting to see shapes and colors of more people showing up, but Pantheon just scoops you up and you feel yourself lurch and you are gone. Everything around you is moving so incredibly fast that you don't even really have time to perceive what's happening around you. It's just vague colors of sky and buildings and this sensation of lightness in your stomach for just a few seconds before you find yourself in Fortress's office.
Before you say anything, and he'll throw up in the corner of her office.
Fortress is holding up a little trash can for you to do that, and she's got another arm around you. And as you're doing that, Pantheon is sort of surveying. She steps back, kind of back to the corner of the room where she can see everything. And under her breath, you see that she's like making some calls. So back over to the rest of Team Pantheon. All of this happened about an hour ago.
We're just seeing the news footage of it.
Yes.
Yeah.
BB's eyes are wide.
So you guys are still in that control room with Tara Baker as she is sort of frantically like pacing about, periodically getting updates, probably from the Arbiters. Warden Fell is watching almost completely neutrally. Are you continuing to watch the news footage and just staying here in the control room? What do you guys do in this moment?
Well, she is our ride, so it's not, like we're kind of at the mercy of what she wants to do right now.
But we did also come out of a very intense meeting. So I think BB at the very least is just kind of arms crossed, staring at the TV, not sure what to do. Worried about Jeremy.
I think Haramon is just looking and doing their best not to give anything away. But like, because they were like, you guys got to see this. I think I'm just watching until they
BB will
tell me
turn
it's time
to BB will turn to Haramon and Silhouette and be like, did either of you know about this?
That this happened?
That this was going to happen?
I think Haramon pulls a Tin Man and only talks in sign.
For sure.
And they'll say, no, I mean, how could, well, I mean, you just get like the general sign for like, fuck.
Indeed, I feel that.
So you guys are watching the footage of this event has already sort of transitioned into various like news reports and coverage of this. It switches back to a live feed and the crowd has pretty much dispersed, and the information that you get pretty sparsely, like as Warden Fell starts bringing up other screens, checking other networks, is that the Arbiters have been recalled from the search temporarily. And you know that Albert Rose has been moved to a secure location until Jeremy Johnson can be found.
Have the Arbiters already provided comment, or is that forthcoming, or what?
You can flip through and see, and you do notice that in particular, their leader, RGB, who is a very smiley-faced, short-cropped, curly, bleached, bright blonde hair with almost like a rainbow color wheel for irises. And that's also essentially what his symbol is on his chest. This is RGB, and he is doing an interview. And you see him say, we did briefly intercept Jeremy Johnson in the sewers, but he was intercepted as well. We're currently in the process of negotiations with the Moonlight Academy, trying to reach Pantheon at this moment. But we will be in touch, of course. We are here making sure that all of this chaos can be averted. But please, people of the First City, have no fear. We've got this.
Can I roll an insight check just to see like how bad I think this is gonna be? Like, is this something that Pantheon can, or not Pantheon, Fortress can kind of like maneuver through and save Jeremy's space at the academy, or should we be preparing for Jeremy to like also be in jail?
Okay.
We could-
Interesting.
Maybe intelligence.
Yeah, I would say intelligence or even history. This is kind of an unprecedented situation, but you can try to draw on your knowledge of how the arbiters work generally, because you have personal experience in that, and the relationship between Alma and Moonlight Academy, and like what legally can happen here.
I rolled intelligence 1 out of 2.
Can I also make that check?
Yeah.
I was going to make it with based on just Haramon's personal
Sure.
emotions, but I feel like I should also have knowledge.
I would say BB should have at least one, I would say one level of advantage because of your personal connection to the government, specifically to the arbiters, knowing what they can do.
Listen, I paid attention when I was researching. That's a double success. It's a 4 out of 2.
Still a 1 out of 2.
I give God double 6s. Mwah.
Okay. Between the two of you, you know that generally Moonlight Academy can't just be stormed without a very clear present threat unless they do something harmful. So the question here is going to be, did what Jeremy just did register to them as something that puts the public in immediate danger, something that overrides the protection granted by this school? There is a specific thing, a law in the First City, and really in any Alma territories. The shorthand for it is CINDA, but it's the Secret Identity Non-Disclosure Act. And this is what prevents heroes who are licensed from being unmasked, even after they've, even if they've committed a crime of some kind. There are a lot of essentially very detailed steps that have to be taken, processes that have to be gone through in order for them to be publicly unmasked. Otherwise, their identity must be protected. Now, Jeremy is pretty clearly unmasked here. But storming the Moonlight Academy, entering the Moonlight Academy, automatically violates CINDA. It's actually written into that part of the contract, because these hero academies, you're going to see people's secret identities. So to your knowledge, for the time being, you can imagine why there's this kind of stalemate right now. Because if Jeremy is back in Moonlight Academy, a lot of deliberation has to happen before any action can be taken.
Yeah, the question is this a good enough excuse?
Yeah. Can I take a look at my mom and see how she's reacting? I know she's on the phone and kind of like pacing, but it's been a kind of a weird day for her already.
She gets off the phone and turns back to you and goes, I need to get you back now. I have to return to the Arbiters. We'll have a conversation later about everything you learned. Unless it's directly pertinent now, tell me on the way. Otherwise, we're leaving. Warden, thank you for your time.
BB will shake the warden's hand, nod, and then follow Dr. Baker out.
The warden smiles at you and holds that handshake kind of a respectfully longer time, like long enough to be like, I am very deliberately shaking your hand right now.
Heck yeah. BB will be like, look forward to working with you in the future. Thank you for this opportunity today.
I will look forward to further conversations. Hopefully we can illuminate all of this darkness together. And he turns
how are the vibes? I know I'm asking a lot about vibes, but we didn't get like a super clear read on him last episode, I don't think.
Yeah, he's difficult. You can
For sure.
this is a mechanic that I don't think we've gotten to introduce yet. It's something that
Ooh.
I've been toying with, but in this game, I really like the idea that you can specify insight. Now, ordinarily, a general insight is going to be something willpower based, and it's just trying to suss out a vibe if that's kind of your thing. But insight can actually be based on any skill that is pertinent to the thing you're looking for. So, say, for example, your lens through which you perceive the world is strength. You can make an insight check on someone through the lens of strength, rolling with your strength stat to see if that lens is affecting their behavior at this moment.
I still think it's either willpower or intelligence. I think BB is trying to glean a little bit of like where his loyalties lie.
Okay, so that's pure willpower then.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Let me go ahead and roll that. Garbage. Absolute garbage today. 0 to 1.
No idea. There's this strange neutrality about him, but he is a person who has the energy of someone who is extremely charismatic, but very calmly charismatic, where when you're talking to him, it feels as though you're like the only person in the world. Like you have his full attention. And even in
Gotcha.
this moment, these waves of like radiant calm and focus and respect even
Mhm.
are projecting out of him so strongly you have no idea whether it's real or not.
Yeah,
And
BB's really sorry.
Now,
Yeah.
I was just going to say it's completely covering any notion of how he's reacting to the situation.
I think BB is like kind of logically knows that she should be more conscious of getting a read on him, but I think is so worried about Jeremy that it's just like, oh, let's go.
See you.
So yeah, I roll out at the very least with Dr. Baker.
I do too.
You head back up to the shuttle, for lack of a better way to put it, as it takes off back through the city and brings you. Ooh. Okay. Unless anyone directs her otherwise, she is going to bring you back to the Arbiter's Tower and like let you get brought back by Hargrove again in the same way as before.
We should do that.
Yeah,
It's less
I agree.
suspicious.
Can we say that a call from Jeremy comes in?
Yeah.
I think that he would call BB.
Are you okay?
Well, I was just about to ask you that. Listen, Haramon and Silhouette are with you, right?
Yeah, they're right here.
Are you
What do you
still
need?
are you still in Blackstone?
No, we're back at the Arbiter's Tower now.
Okay, that's good. I kind of fucked things up, didn't I?
I just wish you would have told literally anyone.
I'm gonna be 100% honest with you. I don't know why I didn't think the Arbiters were gonna be there, but I thought I was just gonna be able to just use that publicity to get people back on the case. I'm sorry, BB. I fucked up.
Well, we'll get through it. You certainly brought people's attention to the matter. Whether or not it's going to be in your favor, we're going to have to wait and see.
Yeah. Just, I'd advise you just get back here, because, oh boy, they're pissed at me, but more importantly, we got to figure out what Silencer told you, because I'm coming up with theories, and I don't like how big this thing could have gotten. It could be even worse than what I just did.
Yeah, trust us, we're in a whole bucket load of shit right now. Are you at
I'm at Fortress's
Fortress's
tower.
office? Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll head over there. Hargrove is taking us back to the campus right now.
All
See you in a
right.
few.
Love you. Bye.
Love you. Bye.
Question:
Mhm.
Are the arbiters at the tower? Do we see them at all as we're
Yeah.
descending, exiting,
Oh
whatever?
no.
So she brings you straight down to the lobby, and it is empty at the moment. It's even like locked down.
Gotcha.
You see that there are First City security members stationed inside where they were not before, and forming almost a perimeter outside. Your mother hardly says much of anything, as she actually just doesn't get out of the elevator, and she goes, I will be in contact about all of this. The conversation is a little more complicated than I first thought. I advise you to think a bit about the information that you are required to share with me moving forward.
Oh, we're thinking about it.
As the elevator door is closing.
As it closes, Baby will just be like, good luck with everything.
The look on her face is... She is not hiding at all the disgust and disappointment. All traces of that strange hint of cold motherly care
Mm-hmm.
that she was almost hiding, that's gone. I mean, it's just this feeling of like, everything I thought was correct. You've lied to me again, put everything in danger. She's done with you right now. All of you.
Num. Give me that tasty disappointment, baby.
Feelings mutual, bitch.
Yeah. I don't know. I think BB feels weirdly in this instance like she came out on top of an interaction with her mom.
You said we're in the lobby zone. There's like mannequins and shit
Mhm.
that are like fucked up. I'm gonna make the executive decision that at some point one of the arbiters, probably Black Bullet had sunglasses as a key item of her costume concept.
Yo.
And I'm just gonna pluck from that mannequin and put them on before we like exit the tower to go into the car.
Hargrove actually meets you inside
Oh, sick.
and brings you out. The perimeter surrounding the tower moves aside to let you through. So you get back in the car. He's periodically just like checking the mirror. It's like he's making sure that you guys are okay as he drives in this tense kind of quiet. And you notice on your way back, you're not taking the direct route to campus. And he goes, I'm not sure how much you've been able to keep up with what's happening now, but I don't think it would be wise to drive directly up to the school right now. Seems like things are getting pretty heated over there. Will you be okay if I drop you about a block down? Half a block down?
It can be a full block. Yeah, we'll be fine. We know our way around. And we know how to get in sneakily. Are we like pulling up basically at this point?
Mhm.
As we get out, I'll kind of go over to Hargrove and be like, I don't know if you're gonna see me for an even longer while, maybe now, but you know where to find me if you ever want to hang out.
It was good to get to see a piece of your new world.
She hugs him really tight, and then yeah, I think she just kind of looks down and walks away. Follows her teammates back to campus.
As you get up close to campus, Moonlight Academy is pretty near to the Skyline District, toward the outer edge of it. And there's this sort of roundabout, the road that circles the school and then branches out into roads that lead through different parts of the first city. And you're coming through Skyline, specifically through the sort of core of the city. And you see that there is a watchful presence, not quite a massive showing of force, but maybe 10 or so first city security officers trying to hold back a gathered crowd that is split in two. And it looks like they are being held like at bay on the opposite end, the end that you're approaching, on like your side of that roundabout. This line is being kept like away from the school to the best of its ability to do so. And you notice as well that a lot of these are protesters with similar signage to what you had seen before at the mall. A lot of Rose Knows, a lot of Save Jeremy. But now the rhetoric has shifted somewhat to protect Jeremy. Alma, stay out. And there's another sort of subsection. It looks like the main sort of division that's happening here is between these two individual groups of protesters, because there's another group that is beginning to shout that Pantheon lied. And it looks like there are sort of plays on the Rose Knows situation. There are a lot of them where Rose is crossed out and it says Jeremy knows.
Wow, our team is filled with a lot of people who the public does not know how to feel about.
But it also seems the public doesn't know how to feel about it, and that's to our advantage.
Yes, yeah. We gotta get in kind of stealthily. We're in our kind of like our outside outfits, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So that is kind of the concern right now, is getting into the school. You also can see it's pretty faint, but it's still noticeable. Just a little glint that's not usually there. The surrounding gates and walls of the school, the entire school, are projecting this shimmering dome-like force field over the entire campus that looks a little bit like the one at Nova Skybase. This one is just a little more cloaked. The Nova Skybase one is like bright and vibrant. There's no use hiding that it's there.
Is there a entrance around the back that it like sidles up to the training forest? I'm thinking duck into that one, immediately dip into the training forest so no one can see us.
Or like a residential entrance into our weird little block.
Yeah.
Which I think is by the training forest, so it kind of messes the same thing.
Yeah, I think this is an important piece of world building here as well, because at this time, I think knowing what's happening here, I think every student at Moonlight Academy would get like an emergency message that is coded. that gives you instructions on how to use a hidden entrance into the school. And this is something that generally
Ooh.
you've heard about this being and you've even like, even if you hadn't heard about this, it would be assumed that there's something like this here. In times when the school is in danger, which has happened before, there are secret entrances and exits that can be taken. But you didn't think that you would be able to glean that this early in your training. You know, that's usually something you start getting later on, particularly in emergencies. So if you guys want to workshop a little bit what kind of secret entrance this is, I'm open to ideas about like how you guys enter, depending on where you want to go.
First, we have to pick the one that is away from the most people. But yeah, if it's underground, that is the ultimate amount of away from the most people.
Mm-hmm.
I like to imagine that there's like one that's like a telephone call box. Just
Yeah.
classic.
That is pretty cool.
And like maybe like a fake tree too that you can fucking like.
I was literally
look
thinking
like
of a fake tree, Eric.
Oh,
Yeah, hell yeah.
Selena would be all over the fake tree. That's their whole shit.
Yeah, we do the fake tree entrance for sure.
Yeah.
So there's a tunnel system. Yeah, so there's a tunnel system that brings
God, what
you
are some other
underneath,
places?
and then an elevator that brings you up through a hollow tree, a fake tree that is extremely convincing. In fact, it probably, in the training forest that opens up and you guys step out into the training forest.
That's
I
dope.
like to think that also that Silhouette can just go invisible and walk like through the main gate. Like she'll just say that she'll catch up with you guys and just.
Yeah,
She could
makes
do
sense.
that, but I think that she would stay with the team.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
I think the time that it takes to get to Fortress's office, because I assume that's where we're going. Harriman is just thinking of all of their classmates, and to the degree that they know the deal with them, like about their secret identities, like everything that like Cinda and like how Alma and Moonlight interact. I think that's at the forefront, and the number one sort of like, I don't know what I'm trying to say, but Helix comes to the forefront of their mind because of what they know about him and what they just helped him do and the reason why they helped him do it. So I think Harriman just shoots off a quick text asking like if he's all right, like if he's chilling with this news and all that. Not necessarily expecting a response, but just be like,
You do get one.
thinking of you. Yeah.
You do actually get one.
Mm-hmm.
It says, at home with the others. I'm okay. Keeping an eye out. You.
You question mark.
Helix is the kind of texter who like texts in sort of prose style, like broken sentences, you know what I mean? Where it's like, I'm a writer. I've learned that I don't need perfect grammar, but I'm still going to text with these broken sentences with perfect like capitalization and punctuation, like I'm writing you a short story.
Oh my God.
You know?
Incredible.
It's very detailed in that way.
I might actually shoot Porter a text and be like, hey, you probably already know that things are popping off at school. Might want to port link home really quick and then come back. Might not be good for him to be on campus. Or might be better for him to stay on campus. Check with Fulcrum. Are they on Team Fulcrum? Yeah.
He responds, already done. Thanks, though.
Yeah.
Wow.
Perfect.
I think Caramon just responds to Helix with, I'll let you know after we leave Fortress's office. ... Like the laying down cow emoji.
Incredible.
Yeah.
So you guys make your way to Fortress's office. So in the roughly hour that it's been, Jeremy, Fortress has been in and out of the room. Pantheon has just been sitting there with you largely quietly, but they insisted that your phone, your communications, all of it, after that call that you made to BB, they like took it.
Jeremy has just been pacing back and forth, muttering to himself just about how stupid what he did was, and just like he's he did the whole thing where, like, back when you're in like elementary, middle school, where you do something and you realize how dumb it was, and then you're like kicking yourself because your parents are like all just not even mad, just disappointed in you.
Mhm.
Oh man, I shouldn't have done a war crime.
It wasn't like
It
didn't
wasn't.
hurt
It wasn't. It was a
anybody.
no,
Yeah.
no, no. It was a
He-
public demonstration. I'm
and
just being silly.
he's talking out loud and like just calling himself an idiot, but he's also just like saying to himself like it was just supposed to galvanize support, keep the momentum going, just an emblem, a poster. Why didn't I just draw something and then print it out, and then fucking he's just doing that.
As you're sort of pacing back and forth, there's a point where you turn around and Pantheon is just in your way. She's just like gotten in your path, and you kind of. She goes, "Hey, you with us?"
I don't know. I mean, I just turned the entire city against you guys. I don't think I am with you. That's, uh, what have I
Hey.
done?
Do you want me to tell you that you didn't fuck up? No, you did. You did. That was kind of the sort of thing we were trying to prevent. But I promised you I would be there in seconds flat, and I was. Was I not?
You shouldn't have had to.
No, I shouldn't have, but this is what our lives are, right? This is what we do. This is what happens. When we make mistakes, we don't get to dwell on them for too long before action has to be taken. Now, the rest of the team is on the way, and we need to have a discussion, but I need you to be here. I need you to be present for that. This conversation with Silencer, I missed a bit for this. We have a lot to figure out, and I don't think this is anywhere close to over. But you are safe here. And if that changes, then we'll find somewhere else for you to be safe, because I am safe, okay? That's, well, you know, the fortress is the person, not the place.
Aw.
He'll just kind of stand there and then just not look at her and just ask if she could send one of her copies to go to his room and just grab those like conspiracy boards that he has in his room and just bring him to Fortress's office.
Like a second later.
And he'll go through them and he'll just rip things off of them and just start making notes and putting new red tape up. And he's just going to try and occupy him with that until the rest of his team gets there.
She sits you back down as the rest of the group arrives and you're brought up to the office. And for a moment, Fortress has not returned yet. And you're all just in the office with Pantheon and Jeremy. So as the door opens, kind of what happens here? How does this interaction play out?
Is Jeremy sitting down?
No, he's standing by his conspiracy board. You see that he like took some chairs from other places and just kind of propped them up. And he doesn't really. He tries to not realize that you're there.
BB will come up behind Jeremy, come up behind you, and like slap the back of your head. And then does Jeremy turn around?
No, he just kind of hangs his head and just waits for you.
Oh, then she hugs you from behind and kind of like wraps her arms around you and buries her head in your shoulder, and then lets go.
He kind of flinches when you do that, but then when you let go, he'll just kind of turn his head.
I thought we had a conversation about not going off on your own. I feel like we had several conversations like that.
I don't have a witty retort to that.
BB will kind of just now take over Jeremy's place and start pacing, maybe unconsciously following the same route that Jeremy did. What's the vibe with everyone else? Paramount?
I walk in. I don't even acknowledge Jeremy's presence.
Damn.
I just open my notebook and say, this is redundant, but humor me. And I just hand it's going to be redundant, but humor me. And I just hand my notebook to the first page of notes, you know, essentially not quite transcribing, but just writing down as much as I possibly could about everything that Constance said, and I just hand it to Pantheon to read, because Hermon doesn't know, you know, what Pantheon was doing, like if she actually got it all. So she just hands it over and then takes a position with hands behind their back and just standing there at attention, looking at Fortress's chair like she's there, but she's not yet, and just waits.
Silhouette just sits down.
BB will turn to Fortress and be like,
Fortress isn't back yet.
Oh, sorry. It's just Pantheon that's here?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. It'll be like, so what are we gonna do?
Well, first and foremost, and you see that she's cut off for a moment as you hear the doorknob turn and the door clicks open, and she looks over. And if you all look as well, you see stepping into the room is Fortress. I think at the moment she's in costume. And she's flanked by two other people. One being Dr. Guest, who takes a position in the corner of the room where you can see everything behind Fortress, so you can see him too. And he nods to each of you and gives kind of that thin Dr. Guest smile, and then returns to neutral as he takes his point. But stepping in behind and to the side on the other side of Fortress is Detective Asher. And you see today her curly hair is kind of pulled back into a very rushed ponytail. And there's just this permanent crease down the center, like between her eyebrows. The first thing that Fortress does is stand in front of her desk, looking squarely at all of you. Are you all right?
Nods.
While you were away, an announcement was made to the faculty and students of both campuses here at Moonlight. We've given avenues of exit that will not be detected by the crowds gathered outside. The crowds which are currently being, at least, we're trying to negotiate to peacefully disperse them, but the best that we can get is holding this line on the other side of the road. But those who don't wish to be here don't need to be. Otherwise, we're safe here for now, but I need to know everything because, well, and she looks to Detective Asher and nods. Asher pulls up her own chair. Actually, I don't even think a chair was like brought here for her right now. There isn't. She just stands
She can use my
sort
chair.
of next to the desk. Oh, you're not sitting
I'm
in?
not sitting.
I don't think she would think to do that initially. I think she would just should just stand there in front of you guys. And she goes, well, that was Jeremy, that was a hell of a thing. I'm not here to chastise you about your reasoning. I'd like to, because you've made my life a lot more difficult, but in some ways, things are a little clearer now. Believe it or not, this has afforded us something of an opportunity. First of all, I have to tell you something, or really show you something that you're not going to like. And she pulls up her phone, and it looks like it's outfitted specially because she's able to pull the image holographically up from her phone and then blow it up and display it amongst you, this screen that she's showing, she's projecting. And you see, once again, this is from basically various news outlets. She pulls up multiple sort of subsections, all showing the same thing. Albert Rose resigns and violates Cinda.
What?
You see video footage of your fight with Blackjack. And you see that it is played side by side with old video footage that you have watched before. Footage of Igneous from many, many months ago. The same footage that you yourselves dug up in your preliminary investigations.
So what's it all being used for, the footage?
Rose was not meant to be involved in this investigation, obviously, due to the allegations. He was meant to lay low. The pressure was on him to resign long before he did, but none of us could have anticipated that he would break Cinda. When he indicated that he was going to in his speech, our intention was to detain him to a secure facility. But he'd set this to automatically upload on a timer. There was nothing we could do. I mean, we've taken it down, but it's already out there. Between that and Pantheon intervening, Pantheon goes, God, I'm sorry. I was trying to zoom in there fast enough to grab you and get out before anyone saw me, but whatever Tin Man shot at you, it was some sort of stasis field. It was like I was caught in molasses and I had to stop for a second before I could grab you, long enough for them to see me. And now everybody knows that you're here. And Asher goes, it's okay. For the time being, we're at a stalemate. They can't touch you here. It's going to be several hours before they even reach a preliminary conclusion as to whether this counts as some clear and present danger. You didn't hurt anyone, and technically Albert Rose has now broken the law. This isn't all that he released. He also made public my report that a new hero in training known as Igneous is now under the protection of Cinda law. Obviously, the pieces are out there now. People know that you were Igneous, that you're here. It's messy. But in the interim, sorry, I haven't said this next part out loud yet. I'm not quite used to it, but Alma has appointed me the acting director of First City's AID.
Wow. That's a big promotion all of a sudden.
I don't know. I mean, with Rose under the gun now, maybe they thought it was it would instill faith in the public again. I'm not particularly interested in being viewed in that way. But regardless, the outcome is good, I think. I mean, I never wanted this, but I won't say no. Considering everything that's happening, I might be able to help, but to a large degree, this is out of my hands now. I could just throw a wrench in.
Looking at the article, does it mention any of the rest of us or
No.
try to identify? Okay, gotcha.
Not at all. And you can't see Haramon in the like. There's no footage of the audience.
Gotcha. Okay, yeah. I figured. Or I was wondering. Okay, cool. So that's at least something we can put off for another day. Okay. So what moves can we make?
Well, you now, I genuinely don't know. Even if they send someone in to get Jeremy, I mean, it's one thing to break Cinda to detain, someone who is threatening. But raiding the academy, that puts countless other identities at stake, and legally there are no grounds to do such a thing. Rose's new status as a criminal puts things in our favor somewhat. Again, considering that Jeremy didn't actually harm anyone, and the only person there's an argument for being a target is now, well, a public target, again, now with defensible grounds. Yeah, I think we can spin this, or I can, in a way that doesn't get government boots on this ground, I think. But the pressure to extract information from Silencer will be greater than ever now. And the second that you step off of this campus, and she says this directly to Jeremy, they'll be all over you. Nothing can stop them from watching the gates. Your identity is public. Cinda no longer applies to you.
Jeremy will just kind of take a breath, and he'll finally turn around to look at you all, and you'll just see a look of just this kid who's just desperately trying to keep it together. He looks like he kind of looks like what JJ was looking like at the very end. He looks like he's a machine that's just ready to shake itself apart, nuts and bolts barely sticking together. And he'll look at Detective Asher and say, I always thought that Cinda was more just a temporary pleasantry for me, but there's something else that you need to. So, you're the director for AID, right?
For the time being?
That means that you technically should have more power to do stuff, right?
Yeah.
Then for the safety of everybody in Alma, I highly advise you to temporarily recall Warden Rose and have the Arbiters take control of security for Blackstone.
You mean Warden Fell?
Yeah.
Okay.
Warden Fell.
Well, wait, why?
Because Pantheon already informed you guys, but I think it's highly plausible that Vitriol has planted suggestions into his mind, and that's the reason why Father Fear was able to escape, and that there could be more things. And if we're lucky that it was just Father Fear that he decided to boost out of prison, but if a team like Dr. Dream and Will-O-Wisp got out, then First City could be in real danger.
That crease between Director Asher's brows becomes a border, chisels itself in a way that looks like it could now be permanent, and she almost spits out the words, Vitriol. What does that dead son of a bitch have to do with any of this?
Close to everything. I guess you need more context for that. Recently, we did some dream surfing, and apparently, way back in the day, before he was dealt with, he was talking to my mom and my dad, and they were working on something together. And I think that, well, it's just off how, knowing that he was talking to them, and now all these years later we have all this clone stuff, and then on the day that I come back after being, I don't know what happened to me, but that Father Fear broke out, and that none of the guards thought anything was weird, that Warden Fell himself didn't think it was suspicious having Father Fear transferred. It just, I don't think that he's secure. I don't think that Blackstone is secure, and I don't think it's his fault, but we got to make sure that we have to make sure that we are sure.
Well, I can speak on Warden Fell's situation when it comes to what happened with Father Fear. I told you before, he believed that he had authorization to move Father Fear to Garrick Penitentiary, and no such authorization existed. He was interviewed extensively and agreed to, well, frankly, a psychic analysis, and they were able to dismantle that belief. See, he seemed to stick to it much longer than he should have, and after quite an extensive conversation, he seemed to almost wake out of it. It is unfortunately very familiar. He would have had contact with Vitriol when Vitriol was held there, but at that point in time, no one, including him, could speak to Vitriol without the earpieces designed by Dr. Quickstep that scrambled the, for lack of a better way to put it, signal that his power creates. The idea that he could have been under Vitriol's influence all of this time, just for this very specific thing, I mean, it just seems, what, 4 or 5 years ahead of time at least, just to transfer this one prisoner who wasn't even in Blackstone at the time. It doesn't make sense for that to have been some planted command from that long ago, which is a cause for concern.
Also, there's this kid named Norman. He's the one that, he said that people were trying to erase my memory of Vitriol's meeting with my parents from my mind. So obviously there's something there. And also, he said that whatever their plan was is in motion, and either Vitriol planned something far in advance, or it's the Boundless. Take your pick.
I think it's time to start postulating and start talking about what we do know. And Harriman will take back their notebook from Pantheon.
Mhm.
Not like mean or anything, just take it back. Like and we'll just essentially just start rattling off all of the notes that they got when they talked to Silencer, of just being like, Silencer stated that they were in the previous employ of someone who executed her creation, her words. His name is Dr. Fine, seemingly has the ability to change his appearance either by power or something. But his most important attribute is that he can unlock the memories of your ancestors, also in her words. And that is why JJ deteriorated so quickly, because he actually had all of Jeremy's memories and his mind could not take it. Now, Silencer revealed that she has a piece of BB's memories, which has seemingly driven her to be unstable. So while it would be nice to take everything I'm about to tell you as true, not only is she being detained in Blackstone, but she's not playing with a full deck, it seems. And then Harriman just goes and says everything, including the Tara Baker stuff.
Yeah.
Something never lined up about Kate not having powers, but I could never correlate her with the shadow. That does change things somewhat. And the facility, if it's, I mean, we don't have a location yet, but if it's the same one that Kate indicated, I mean, I went there, there was nothing, literally nothing there. Though, I do wonder. And she turns to Fortress. Fortress seems to have put something together as well. And Fortress goes, this Norman was a powerful enough telepath to create a labyrinth in your mind, Jeremy, to protect one memory. This Dr. Fine has to be holding him for a reason, capturing kids with powers that apparently no one would miss, but the recreation of powers via cloning, if he's attempting to utilize these children's powers for himself, it's possible that the nothing that Director Asher saw was only a projection from Norman's power. Maybe it's worth another look.
BB will turn to Dr. Guest and be like, been awfully quiet. Do you have any thoughts, feelings, concerns?
I have another piece of the puzzle, as it were.
Oh, care to share?
This Dr. Fine, I know him.
Did you guys go to the same school?
In a manner of speaking. When I knew him, he was Jacob Fine. a scientist in the employ of the Boundless. I won't say that we grew up together, but we were indoctrinated together. His power. It's exactly as you've described. You see, here in the first city, and really in any city created by Alma, we've created a set of rules, basic understandings, that limit our perception of what Illustrium gives us, those of us with abilities. But out there, beyond the confines of the civilizations that we've built, there are no such shackles. I have seen power that many here, most here, would not understand and would write off as myth and legend. We think we know power. But beyond science, beyond experimentation, there is still the unknown. But even there, out in the free territories of Symphony, Symphony being the official name of the continent.
Gotcha. Okay.
Even there, fear rules all. And the Boundless feared what he was capable of. His experiments on their members often proved fatal. And Jacob was never a man to value a life beyond what that life could do to improve his knowledge of the world, of everything. It would not be exaggeration to refer to him as a madman. He was excommunicated by a group that I would call entirely composed of madmen. And you see the darkness that lives in the crevices and deep lines of his face seem to deepen talking about this. After he was banished, I had no further contact with him. I've no idea where he went or what he did. The notion that he would work with someone like Vitriol, I suppose, is not terribly surprising. And he crosses his arms. Seems to try to return to that neutral stance he was in before, but something is different. More so than you've ever seen with him. Kind of a grim reminder that this man is human, regardless of appearances.
What a man looks like.
This is a little bit too rich for my blood. Is there anything that we can do now in the moment to support Jeremy and get more people on his side, like he had kind of initially intended, to make the division in the crowd a little bit less pronounced, I guess?
Well, part of this depends on Silencer now. This is Asher again.
I would suggest maybe calling her Constance from now on.
Yeah.
All right.
Sorry, yeah, that's her name.
At least certainly to her face now. If she is like family only, it's a different
Mhm.
story, but she was very insistent on being renamed.
Yeah.
We should see if Constance has changed her stance at all. Her trial is next week. We need to know if she's willing to testify, to give this information freely, because if she's not, and that law passes, everything she knows is coming out.
There's no chance of us just throwing Jeremy on Prestige's show, right? It worked so well last time with the video footage.
Well, Prestige isn't particularly under the protection of Cinda either.
Hmm.
Not a private hero, that one. Pantheon almost seems to want to laugh to break the tension, but she stops herself. Though a statement from you, Jeremy, the old familiar places, maybe an interview with me. I should mention, I am here officially. I am doing my job here. Which is simultaneously keeping some of the wolves at bay. But my primary concern is this whole thing with Vitriol. It rubs me the wrong way. To think that all of this was just planted, left behind before his death, it's not adding up. And with this notion of cloning and powers, and
I think we're on the same thread.
I'm fearing the worst. If there's someone out there who can do what Vitriol could, if they're just waiting for the right moment to strike, or if that strike's already struck, I don't know. I mean, we don't even know why they sent you back, this Dr. Fine.
Jeremy will kind of come back out of a temporary haze, and he'll look at Asher and just ask, "Do you remember meeting me at all?"
Meeting you?
I mean, Silencer said that she got me when I was meeting with you, right?
She got you before you ever got to me. The first time I met you was here, in this room.
Just to double check, when Silencer said how she got Jeremy, did she mean like before they were meeting or like during?
Before.
It was before. Yeah, she grabbed you up on your way to that meeting. So you
Okay.
never got to meet. Yeah.
Oh,
You didn't get to go to meeting.com.
he'll look at her and then ask her, last time we were in this office, when I asked you what your first memories are, you tensed up and then wouldn't answer. I don't know, after everything that's happened, I think that I might be either horribly paranoid or correctly cautious.
I remember before I could walk, before I could speak, I remember hearing things. Small wonder my power developed when it did, but even before, I think I could hear more than I was supposed to. Sound came before understanding. And it's funny how the memory of something you didn't understand at the time, because there was no language, there was just sensation. Even though I should understand what they were saying now, hearing my parents in another room, in my memory, it's still that same muddled, comforting sound of vague conversation. It's my first memory. I remember the house I grew up in, schools I went to, everything. I mean, you want my whole life story? I can give it to you, but I can't make you trust me.
That was enough. And I need to apologize to something else. And he'll look at Pantheon and Fortress and the rest of his team and he'll say, when I first got here, after I saw the video and I saw that what I thought was a lack of following up on details, I got scared. I felt like I couldn't tell you everything that I knew because I was scared of if you guys went out and released it again before doing any extensive research, that it would just make it easier for whoever's behind it to just tie up those loose ends. But and he'll try and fail like 2 times to create that little diorama of Amberly, and then on the 3rd try he'll just kind of spark it in like a projector that's needs a couple of kicks to start working, and he'll say, I'll go with the truths that I've kept hidden until now. One, the reason why JJ and I suddenly got along so well. Because if you look at it from the outside, it's a bit weird. We only knew each other about 10 days or something. But when I first abandoned the PvP, went back to track him down. I wasn't there to make peace. I was there to go to war. But he revealed to me that the night that he burned the house down and killed my parents, he did it out of self-defense because they were planning on euthanizing him that night. So he killed them out of self-defense. And my parents, they loved me. They never treated me bad. They kept track of my powers and all that, but they did love me. But they were evil people. They got their justice. And next, the most important thing is Amberley itself. I don't know how much you know about it, Director Asher, but Amberley isn't just a cozy retirement village for former Alma agents. It is one of, if not the, secret testing ground for AID.
What?
That's why JJ was there. Whenever they need to do any experiments that they need to keep out of the public eye, they take it to Amberley and they do it there. Now, very few people know that, and I felt that if that got out, that Rose, all of them would be able to track down that it came from me, and that they might, I don't know, go after Freddy to lure me out, and then I don't know. I'm too young to know these things. I don't know how to handle it. I thought that the people older than me would, but I don't know anymore.
Baby will just put a hand on Jeremy's shoulder.
Fortress leans forward. Were you gonna say something, BB, or was that just action? Fortress leans forward and she looks you square in the eye. Jeremy, you're not entirely sure what a mother's look is meant to look like, but you imagine it might look like this. She says, "You need to listen to me now. You're not a villain. And this is not a story. This is our lives, all of our lives, not just those of us with powers and responsibility. I could chastise you for what you've done, and it would get us nowhere. There's not a one of us in this room who's been through exactly what you have, and we can all say that about one another." Pantheon nods. I can't hand you a how-to guide to deal with how to move forward, because what's happened to you, as far as I'm concerned, has never happened to anyone. Not that I can just read about anyway. So what you do now writes the story. It's what people will look to when they see something like this happening again, 100, 200 years from now, however long it takes, when someone else somewhere sees this road being walked again. This is the story they read when they stand in the way and say no. Not now. Not again.
I think that if I could ask one more time, that what I just said, you keep it close to the chest until we're ready to release everything, until, especially with Amberly, until we're sure that all the innocent people that live there, because there are innocent people, that until we know that they'll be safe, that we keep that quiet. But as for right now, I think that Asher Fortress, if you could contact RGB and Black Bullet and, I don't know, arrange for them to come here to talk with me. I feel like I need to
come here.
Apologize with them and tell them my intent, tell them that I didn't mean to hurt anyone, and that the Black Bullet, I'm sorry. I just got scared when she grabbed me. In this time of, I don't know, I feel like the people working the shadows are trying to keep us apart, turn us against each other. We need communication and understanding of each other.
I agree. We have options. We could set up a meeting, bring them here, and Fortress, you can preemptively clear the campus so that no one is compromised. Or we can arrange something, a deal, that you will not be taken into custody and that you will cooperate with this investigation, give what information you have, and pick a location we can bring you to securely. My concern is that as of this moment, we don't know how far these tendrils stretch. And if it could even touch the warden, then as far as I'm concerned, the only people I trust are in this room. Every piece of information we give Alma now, whether it's my job or not, is risking the exposure of information to the people who are behind this. Until we know who that is, frankly, I think my role as director, let's just say I won't be directing exactly the chorus I would normally be. That I will be someday. Hell, I've been doing this for less than an hour now. And I imagine there's a fat metaphorical pile of documents digitally waiting for me. Some of that might include Amberly, and I'll get back to you if it does. But I should tell you, AID, to the investigation division, I mean, secret experiments, that's not us. That's another branch of Alma. Unless there's something else I am not privy to, which I'm starting to get used to, strangely, eerily. But you have time. The day, at least. Decide what information you're willing to give and how you want to give it. If we're doing it here or there. And in the meantime, keep your people close, play it close to the chest. in terms of who you tell about these things, and I'll do the same. I'll give a report that you are under protection here and are willing to cooperate, but are currently deliberating on a deal to reveal the information that you have. If I give a hard deadline, then that gives us time. Especially if I dangle the bait of, he's going to talk. I think this is the best thing we can do. It makes sense.
Will you at least pass along my apologies to Black Bullet?
Yeah, I can do that.
Thank you.
Can't guarantee she won't throw you into a wall the next time she sees you anyway. But yeah, that whole hard edge thing, it is kind of her brand, but it's also not an act. It's a little insider government information for you. Don't tell my superiors. She stands up. Fortress does as well. Thank you, Director. We'll be in touch as soon as we've made our decision. Asher nods and turns to leave.
I think Bibi just buries her face in her hands. It's been a long day. I think it's only like 2 p.m.
True. Are we free to go?
Yeah.
You're free to go. Jeremy, if I give you back your devices, will you promise that you will not make any calls of any kind until we've reached a decision?
Trust me, I don't really want to talk to anyone else right now, so.
The rest of you, you understand the protocol. If you leave campus or return to campus, use only the secret entrances.
Got it. Easy.
In the meantime, I will make a follow-up announcement. Expect an assembly soon. Otherwise, I'm very sorry that we're here once again. But I believe we're closer to a resolution than we've been before. It was very brave of you to face Silencer the way that you did. And I don't mean the first time. I don't mean the fight. I mean this. Sometimes conversation is more difficult than a straight fight.
I mean, that's just what we had to do. I think we're all better for it by degrees. I'm glad that these two are with me, though. Nods at Herman and so on. Now on to the next thing.
I guess so.
I am going to wait and be the last person in the room as per usual, but I'm not, it's not every day.
Classic.
Yeah, but it's only by a couple steps or so. And as I I've had the same posture except for when I was reading from the notebook the whole time, this sort of like hands behind the back deal. And I as I turn to leave, I if I can, I intend to make eye contact with Dr. Guest. And I just say, thank you, doctor. Your insight, as difficult it might have been to share, is appreciated. And then I leave.
I have a question for you, Harimo.
Mhm.
When you receive any communication from the Custodi,
No.
Is it-
No, I don't want it.
is it exclusive to one device? Is it only that one pad? Or do they communicate through your phone or?
I'm trying to think on what makes the most sense in a security, because it's like, do we ping every device so that no matter where you are, you get the notification?
Mhm.
Or do we ping one device so that it's only on one device? But if that device gets stolen or tampered with, then we're fucked. So I don't really know what makes sense, actually.
That's fair.
Maybe it's a step system. It's
Mhm.
the pad is the primary, and then if I don't respond within an appropriate amount of time, they ping like my Apple Watch or like my phone.
Mhm.
Yeah. So
As you step outside to a surprisingly quiet campus,
I hate that. Hate that so much.
or maybe not surprisingly, you do receive a coded message. And you know that this particular code is Custodi correspondence.
Wow, this day just keeps getting better and better. I turn to Silhouette and BB and I say, I gotta take this. And I
Okay.
I go in and I take the stairs. I don't go in an elevator. I take the stairs all the way down. And I go home and I go to my room and I open it.
It unscrambles, and I think there's like a cipher that you need to even like understand the yeah. I think it's something that if somebody else just read, they wouldn't be able to understand.
Yeah.
Whether it's a proprietary sort of written symbolic language or something that has a specific cipher that the Custodi are keyed to and understand.
I think it's more that they don't have their own proprietary language.
Yeah, because there's so many different cultures.
There's so many different cultures there. I just think that a lot of people are polyglots in Custodi culture because there's so many languages interacting. But I think it's a proprietary cipher and like appropriate, coding, but there's no proprietary Custodi language. Because that's too much. That's too much.
The message reads, follow-up is required to your report. Sundown tonight. And it sends you coordinates.
Oh my God.
Off campus?
Do you look into where the coordinates are?
Yeah, I do. I mean, I have to because I have to go there.
The coordinates are of a construction site where I'm going to say like some sort of financial tower of some kind is in the process of being constructed.
Okay.
If you do like a cursory look at who's building it, and the construction schedule is such that they primarily work in the morning and that at night it will be pretty much free.
Is this message the kind of message where it was received at the time it was sent?
I don't understand that question.
was this a message that was actively sent rather than sent on a timer? You know, like, okay.
I think I'm too stupid to understand what you're talking about.
Okay, let me change the question. If I respond, will someone see it? Is that the kind of message it is? Like, someone sent it,
yeah,
I can respond to it.
You could,
Someone
but
will
you're
see
not
it.
generally supposed to. This is not the kind of message that is like from one person and you're supposed to respond to it.
But it will go to a place where someone will see it.
Yeah.
I am going to respond. And I am going to say, by necessity, and I'm going to put necessity in like the tone of like, it's a necessity and it's not a debate, in the cipher. Because I think you can say tone in the cipher. Why not? Things here are turbulent, and I will be bringing someone. They will not be privy to the conversation. They will be at a different, basically saying, I'm going to bring someone. Don't worry, they won't know what we're about to talk about. They'll be away, but I need security. So I'm bringing someone to make sure I don't get got, in the cipher. And then I text Helix.
Oh,
Incredible.
Yep.
okay.
Actually, no, I think I call him. I cold call him.
Oh man.
Such a
okay.
power play.
I wasn't ready to. Okay. I'll click in. I got to be Helix.
Helix time.
Yeah.
I am so tired, but that is besides the point. I have been summoned to meet with my people tonight, and with the current climate of things going on, I don't want to go alone. Would you be willing to accompany me? Don't worry, you won't like be a part of the conversation. You won't actually know what I'm about to say. Security reasons, obviously, but to just have a place to meet with you after, because I don't exactly feel safe in this city right now.
Say when.
Thank you. And I will text him the time and the date.
Okay.
Or the time and the
And
coordinates. Sorry.
as you're doing that, you do see an unread message from Backtrack that's been there for a little bit.
Fuck. Okay. What does it say?
It just says, I'm home whenever you're ready.
What time is it?
What time? Oh, what time is it? You went, it was 10 a.m. roughly.
In real life, it's 2:25. It could be 2:25.
No, I don't think it is.
The rapid swinging from political discourse to deep emotional discourse is really giving me whiplash. Very good.
We are trapeze artists of our own making, and the trapeze is made of emotion.
At 10 a.m. was when you were driven there. I think it was exactly noon. It was. I don't think it was actually exactly noon. When you met with Silencer, you had 1 hour. So it was 1. And then you came back. So it probably is roughly 2:30.
Yeah.
That's funny. That's really funny.
If you die in the game, you die for real.
Yeah. So it is like, because of that meeting, it is a bit after that, like you said, that you were going to meet with him.
Yeah. But sundown is like, it's getting to be summertime. So it's closer to like 7.
Mm-hmm.
So I have some time. So I will go see him.
So Haramon, do you make your way over there?
I hate when you have that tone. I hate when you have this look on your face. I do.
So as you get there and you ring the doorbell and wait for a response, takes a few seconds. But the door opens and Backtrack is standing there looking very well put together at the moment. He looks like he just showered recently and like blow dried his hair, but he hasn't put his hair back like it's usually, slicked back a bit. It looks like he's let it fall to one side, but like just brushed it and dried it in such a way where it's just comfortably long. He looks like he just shaved. He probably even kind of smells like shaving cream at the moment. And you see that he's wearing his usual red like button-up shirt, but he doesn't have it like over a short sleeve shirt like he often does. He has it just buttoned and like not in his usual here's my chest way. And it almost looks like maybe he like missed a button, like he buttoned it kind of wrong. He looks like he tried really hard to put himself together, but you catch that missed button and then you catch how tired his eyes look. He goes, hey, do you want to come in?
Yeah. Is anybody home?
No, they're everyone's dealing with this in their own way right now. And Loney wanted to get out for a little while, which is understandable. I think a lot of it was to keep an eye. Hecate needs support, even if she doesn't say that she does. So they're together, and that's good. It's great. Do you want to? You can come in. I mean, you're not going to stand there in the tense campus afternoon sunlight.
I would like to note that I am still in full disguise from the morning. Just throwing that out there. Sure.
You walk in and he steps over to the kitchen where he has that kind of bar kitchen where it's cut out so you could see him behind it. And you see he's pulling out a couple of glasses and he's putting ice into the glasses and he pours what looks like orange soda. And then he takes out some sort of foaming cream and he like pours a little bit and mixes it. And you have this like foaming sort of creamsicle soda drink. And he's like, I don't know if you like these. This is kind of what this is the feeling right now. This is how I deal with the crisis. So
I take it, but I don't drink from it. I just sort of hug it with my hands as I lean on that counter. And I say, so I should go first, right? Because
go.
I'm sorry. What I said was incredibly shitheadery. It was, you're my friend, first and foremost, before anything else we do. And I don't know, it felt like you were actively avoiding me, like trying to ghost me. It hurt. And something I have to unlearn is that when people hurt me, I tell them that they're hurting me by hurting them back. And that was my intention by saying that thing about solar flare. And that's really bad. And I have to learn how to not do that anymore. And I won't do it ever again. And I understand if you don't want to do other things than just friendship with me anymore. And I take it, drink.
Thank you. I, fuck. Okay. Look, I honestly was going to put on a smile and just sort of be fine and try to carry on like normal. But it's not normal. And once again, I find you at the heart of something just horrible and life-threatening. And it puts me right back in the driver's seat of the problem. And it's my problem, not yours. I know that's so, it's not you, it's me, but like it actually really is. I mean, look, I tried to tell you before that I don't really get, close with the people I get close with. And that's usually pretty easy for me to do, to like put that barrier up, I mean, I try to be respectful. I'm open. I'm upfront about that, but I guess it's a part of the hero life that you romanticize in stories, but it's not something I ever thought was going to be a problem for me. That when we find each other and we do whatever it is we're doing, sometimes you grow close to someone whose life is in danger a good amount of the time. And it feels not great. And that's not fair for me to say that that's my problem at all, because you're the one who has to actually, be in danger now when we're supposed to just be training. But I can't help that I'm scared for you. And that fear is care for you. And it makes it hard for me to feel like this is casual when I am confronted a large percentage of the time with just how much you actually mean to me. And I don't know where that puts us. Me, I don't.
Yeah. You say it's a problem with you, but this is not the first time someone has said, I can't be with you anymore because you're constantly getting hurt. In the past, it was you're constantly making yourself get hurt. You're constantly putting yourself in danger. This is new to me, that I'm not the reason for my own life endangerment, but wow, history is a flat circle.
Selena, I don't mean to interrupt you, but I never said that. I never said I couldn't be with you anymore. I said I don't know where that leaves us. It means I have to figure things out, and I'm sorry that I left you out of that process. I am. But this is gonna be our lives. I mean, people like us end up with more people like us for a reason, because people who aren't like us can't relate. just didn't think it was going to happen so soon. I thought it was going to be, college. Fun. As long as it could be. But no matter what happens, I can't pretend that my feelings for you are casual. And who I am, what I am, regardless of how I may feel for you, I can't just devote everything to you. I need more. I don't know if that makes sense.
Well, I mean, you're speaking my language, so it makes sense. But I would like, where I come from, relationships are solely defined by the boundaries that those involved put. And you might think that's true everywhere, but what I mean is a completely casual relationship where I come from might look exactly identical to the outside eye in terms of PDA, time spent, living situations, as a completely, perfectly deeply involved relationship. They might look the exact same thing, but the people involved know what's up and no one questions it. So I guess for me, I didn't even think about us getting closer in the terms of like getting closer, of like veering away from casual, because in my mind nothing had changed. I was just being affectionate, I guess. And I mean, I just, if it's a question of, do you want something more serious with me? Or is it you just don't understand how to balance the real care with the idea of it remaining I am a bit confused.
Me too.
And that's something we can figure out together.
I mean, if this time has shown me anything, it's that I don't want you out of my life.
Oh no, like I said,
And
we're friends before anything.
I think that's in the spirit of that. I need to continue sort of figuring that out.
Mm-hmm.
But we can I still want us to spend the same time together that we were. Just there's no way to have this conversation without you knowing that this isn't everything that the time that I need, that I've taken to myself. It's not all about you.
I know I just have a very big problem with like making it about me because I have a very bad self-image. And so continue.
I mean, you probably can tell that things haven't been right with me since Father Fear escaped. And I just people escaping from Blackstone, it brought everything to the surface. And
Riley, do you know someone who's incarcerated in Blackstone?
know someone? Know is a loaded word. But yeah, my father. It's no, don't. It's good. That word I hesitate to even use. I mean, the short version is that my family, being myself, my siblings, and my mother, we thought that he was our father. I mean, our lives were good. He made them good. We loved him. Doesn't matter. The point is, we found out a little too late that he was an accountant for Chance Vane. I don't know if you know who that is. He's kind of Tonatrus's biggest thorn in his side. Crooked businessman that no one seems to be able to touch. But my father was moving money around for him, financing people who were ending lives in his name. Yeah, he's there. Not some super criminal, just regular, run-of-the-mill asshole. And those lives may not have been taken by his hands, but it was his money. It's kind of the same thing. So, I just needed to square myself, deal with it, or not deal with it. So, don't be sad, please. I mean, take it as a comfort, I hope, because all of this shit is not you. But I hope you understand why the emotional work of this is taking a little bit longer because of, this. Do you want to watch something or something until the assembly?
Yeah.
Cool.
And I think we sit down on the couch and I just sort of begin to run my hand through his hair and just a little scalp massage as we watch Scooby-Doo and the Witch's Ghost.
Oh man. It's 400 and something year old vintage shit there.
Yeah, dude.
And it still holds up, baby.
Yep.
Dude, I have everything you could ever want from old Earth on this one thumb drive.
Incredible.
I kind of want to give it to Knock Knock, but I'm scared because no one man should have all that power. You know what I mean?
So we fade out on that, turn the page over to BB. What are you doing in the time between now and the assembly? And I will say that a message has come through for everyone, again, automated through the school, that there is an emergency assembly in the auditorium at 8 p.m. tonight.
8 p.m. Oh,
God.
Fuck. Okay.
I genuinely kind of don't know what BB is doing. So much has happened today, and so many pieces of it have been so disparate and emotionally challenging that
there's the episode title.
Yeah.
Disparate and emotionally challenging. I part of me thinks she reaches out to troubleshooter, but I don't know what the context of that would be. Like, I don't recall them ending their last interaction in a place where it was like, I mean, it's fine, get along well. I just don't know what we were talking about. I mean, yeah, I think she'll text troubleshooter and just be like, everything okay with your team?
Quick Step wants to tear little Jeremy's head off.
Fuck.
I'll text back. I don't think she's alone in that.
But otherwise, we're trucking along. How's life in the center of the shitstorm?
Shitty. Do you want to get dinner before the assembly? I need to like talk to someone that's not immediately involved in my life falling apart around my ears.
Yeah, let's take a little walk down the secret tunnel.
Secret tunnel.
I was just thinking I need to get the hell out of this place.
Do you have any favorite food places? God, I want to know what Troubleshooter's for restaurant is.
Dive bar, dive bar.
Yeah, they're all about 1 million miles away, but we'll figure something out.
Yeah, we go do that.
Yeah, I think it would be just some weird dive bar that opens way too early. That's just like kind of a pub earlier in the day.
I think before I head out, I'll go to Jeremy's room and like knock on the door.
Mm-hmm.
Are you there?
He'll very sheepishly open the door, and you just see he looks like he's aged about 20 years.
Hey, do you need to take like a nap or something?
I don't know. What's up, BB?
Oh, I was just gonna go grab food with Troubleshooter, and I wanted to know if you wanted anything. And I wanted to check in because also we're friends.
No, I'm good. I'll figure something out. Could you actually hit Pantheon up for me?
Yeah, what do you need?
I need I need some wisdom.
Yeah, of course. I text Pantheon to come over, and then I say, and I'm gonna bring you back food. But just now you don't get a choice as to what it is, and I'm gonna choose for you. So sorry.
Thanks, BB. You're the best.
BB doesn't throw up the peace sign. That's fully an Eric thing. She pats you on the shoulder and doesn't really know how to comfort you, so she just turns around and heads out.
I think you leave
goes
as
to the
Pantheon
bar.
arrives too.
Yeah.
So yeah, let's. Did you want to go through your conversation with Troubleshooter at all?
Yeah. God, I'm so embarrassed. The crush emotions are real. I think we could keep it pretty simple. And I think that they're sitting there and they're eating. Where are we? Like, where do you think Troubleshooter would?
I genuinely do think it's like a pub.
Yeah,
I
agree.
think
Yeah,
it's
Can it be called Tom's Foolery?
Yeah.
That's pretty good. That's pretty really good.
Irish pub, of course.
Yeah, of
The
course.
best kind
Yeah.
of pub. Da, 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 da.
But weirdly
Yeah.
also serves American food.
Yeah.
Yeah. Along with Irish food.
I think it's a lot of like fried pickles and cheese and things like that.
God.
And like it's just like
American
heavy.
fair food and Irish food combined is so cursed.
Yeah, and there's like I think this is like a soups, like hearty soups and stews and
Fuck around.
fried things, and then just like assortment of beers and whiskeys.
So we're sitting there. I think think BB's munching on some fried pickles, and has probably gotten Jeremy a fried. No, just it's like some fried potato thing. It's like an overstuffed baked potato or something, and shit. That's
An
sitting next to
entire
her.
baked potato battered
Yeah.
and deep fried with cheese inside.
Yes. Baby's like, that looks good. That looks like something Jeremy would like. But they're sitting there and drinking. Baby's not drinking because she's not 21. I imagine Troubleshooter's drinking. Baby's sipping on
Law-abiding citizen.
she's sipping on a Roy Rogers.
I think they have like one non-alcoholic drink that they're extremely proud of.
Okay, that one.
And I think it's called like the Tom.
Oh my god, that's so good.
And it's some kind of like mint flavored mocktail of some kind with like the flavor profile of a carbonated shamrock shake.
Whoa. Very specific. I'm all about it. Yeah, baby's
This is the world
definitely
building you
enjoying
all
that.
came here for. Don't lie to me.
It's all culinary and fashion based.
Yep.
That's what we're serving at Chance Encounters.
Man, I like that.
Me too. But BB's like, do you have something that you do when kind of everything just becomes too much and it feels like the questions and the challenges keep just compacting on themselves, but yet in doing that they become bigger and bigger. It just feels like none of this is ever going to stop.
Yeah, bigger is actually generally better. I mean, the thing about a place like this that drives me up the fucking wall is all the fucking walls. I mean, you can't walk 10 feet without hitting a damn building. There's always something, right? I can see a long, long way, but not when there's shit in the way. So sometimes I like to challenge myself. I like to find the highest point I can, or the clearest point I can. And it's got to be a new one every time. That's the challenge. I got to find it. Because the journey's half the battle, ain't it? And then when I get there, my reward is I can see how much more there is than just this place. I mean, this ain't no concrete jungle. This is a jungle gym. All this shit they're playing around, scratching the surface. I mean, oh no, corrupt doctors and politicians.
I don't know. Those things are pretty bad, but I get what you mean.
They are, but they don't break my expectations in any real way. And they're all rooted in structures that y'all made up. So if I can see as close to back home as I can, remind myself that this place is teeny tiny. Strangely, it actually helps me fight for it. Makes me like it better when I remember this isn't all the world is. It's just people doing what they do.
Yeah, I'd really like to visit Nova West sometime. That's where Troubleshooter's from, right?
Mhm.
Okay. Maybe if you ever go visit, I can tag along for a few days.
Oh. That'd be interesting. Suppose I wouldn't mind the company, but it ain't no walk in the park.
Well, neither is being your friend, so
Drink to that.
cheers. And I think BB kind of sits back and does reflect on that kind of idea of perspective, which is something that she really sorely needed, and hit her pretty hard. So she just kind of takes a sip of her carbonated shamrock shake, and maybe they finish their meal in that kind of comfortable silence.
I think afterward, she offers to. I think she actually asks you. She goes, "You want to get high with me?" And she points a finger up,
Bam.
like up in the direction of the tall buildings.
BB looks up at the tall building, looks at the baked potato for Jeremy, looks at the tall building, and goes, "Yeah, I'm down."
And I think she actually brings you all the way back to Quick Tech Tower.
Oh.
And she brings you in with access that she has as a member of Team Quickstep.
Mhm.
And takes you all the way to the roof, which just might be the highest point in the entire city.
Yeah, that checks out.
And you can see everything. You can see the entire Skyline district, all the bridges interconnecting it. You can see the ring of residences outside, and then expanses of plains halfway back to Amberley. And you can see, peering through the clouds on the horizon, the vague outline of Symphony stretching out in the distance in the evening, almost evening light, as it's getting brighter before it gets darker. And you see how much more world there is.
You know, I've lived in the city my whole life. I've never seen it from up above before. Even when we went to Nova Skybase a few weeks ago, I was kind of just focused on getting there. This is a completely different city. Huh. And you get to come here all the time?
I mean, a lot of the work we do is here. But the others, I mean, you know, they want to work here someday. Me, I just need to take what I can and get out. I'm grateful. I am, but I'm taking it in, trying to grow some amount of fondness for it. This helps. I see a lot of people who think they're up high enough to look down on everyone else. But I think that's why I like you. Feels like no matter where you're sitting these days, you're never really looking down. You're just looking for something to keep you going. I can understand that. Tell you what. You get your license and I get everything I need. Everything I need to make good on a promise. Then I can go home. You get strong enough. Strong enough to bring that accent back. Maybe I'll let you ride sidecar. There's a healthy chance you won't die.
I think there's probably a healthier chance that you'll just leave me at wherever we end up again, but I'll still take that risk. And also, even if you leave someday, you get what you want and you get out. And if you miss this place, you can always come back. Life doesn't have to have as hard of endings as you think it does. Or at least that's something that I think I'm learning myself.
She starts tracing her fingers like up the tattoos. I think she's got a tank top on. She took off her top layer, and she goes, I think my roads are pre-traveled for me. It's a nice sentiment, though. I practically came into this world expecting to be blown out of it sooner than most. And statistically speaking, it's an accurate statement, not exaggeration. But sometimes the life that's laid out for you and the life that you choose are the same. I mean, who knows, if you'd been born there in Nova West and I was born here under all this, yeah, there's a fair chance we still would have turned out exactly who we ended up being. I don't fucking know.
I don't either. But that's okay. And as they kind of wrap up or continue their conversation, I think at some point Phoebe takes out her phone and takes a selfie, and Troubleshooter can be in it if she wants, but she's not. Phoebe isn't angling for that necessarily. But depending on whether she is or not, she takes a selfie of her and Troubleshooter with the city behind them going out to infinity, and then texts it to Hargrove and says like, with a friend at Quickstep Tower, and that's all it says.
Oh my God.
You get like, very cool, with like an exclamation point and some sort of emoji.
And then the boomer ellipses.
Oh yeah. God. Yeah. And as
Incredible.
you do that, you do hear her say again, sort of under her breath, yeah, it's okay. And we fade out on that moment. The city stretching out behind you as the sun starts to go down, and you both make your way back to campus for the assembly. We turn the page, winding the clocks back a bit to see how Jeremy spent his day.
Well, when Jeremy, after BB leaves and Jeremy comes in, he'll just kind of poke his head out and be like, hey, do you think that I still have training field privileges?
To Pantheon?
Yeah.
I don't see why not. I mean, it's on campus. So.
Do you think you could help me with something? If there is one of the many things I learned today, it's that I have a gap that, while I've been trying to fill, I still can't do it.
She goes, Fortress wasn't kidding. Conversations, they're often harder than physical labor. So, personally, I would love to do anything involving the field.
Then I'd like to imagine that he like asks to go to like one of the more urban training fields, if there are any, and
like the training city.
Yeah, and while they're walking, he'll just kind of follow closely behind Pantheon and just kind of silently just grab onto her sleeve and just kind of rest his head in the center of her back while he walks. And then once they get there, he'll like take off his big overcoat because he's still wearing like his full outfit, and he'll say, I've had a thought for a while that I could use my flames to kind of the constructs to make them more solid so I could travel better. I've been trying to figure out how to get my control that fine, and I was wondering if you had any tips.
To get your control that fine. Interesting. Well, okay. So out of character, my brain like went Bakugo immediately. That sort of like, projection of self. So I think that she would take a moment and just think about it. And then she starts workshopping with you these different possibilities. Okay, well, like how long can you sustain one sort of jet stream? I mean, it's even still, that's not going to get you that. I mean, and you try that and like propel yourself on as long as you can maintain the same fire, which has a shelf life. And also you like run out of momentum pretty quick. So then she starts pivoting into this idea of like, okay, what if like short bursts, sort of like push as much fire as you can get in one direction and jump at the same time, and then like let yourself cruise a little bit and then shoot again, conserve your energy, and then you can go longer. It's not as fast as sustaining it, but it's more sustainable. We can try that.
Sure, you're the teacher here. I'm just a student.
So you spend the better part of the day trying to figure this out. Why don't you go ahead and make just like a power roll like you normally would, just to see how effective you can do this by the end of the day. With her guidance, I'll give you, how many dice are you rolling total?
If it's like the whole like intelligence or willpower plus power die, that is 6 dice.
Okay. This one is probably going to be intelligence just for the moment while you're figuring it out, because you are trying to map out trajectories. You have to time your bursts perfectly and then manage to in midair move yourself so you're not just going in a straight line. So then I will give you 2 levels of advantage because you're being taught, you're being like helped along here.
Could I use that one of those levels of advantage for the power die?
Yeah, power die get priority on those.
Okay. Full success.
Hey.
So total number of die out of total number of die.
6 out of
Excellent.
6.
Yeah. Okay.
Wow.
So you do manage to figure out how to do this. And it takes you actually like not the entire day. You're here for like a few hours probably. So maybe right up to when the sun starts going down. And I just want to give you the mechanics. So you've now learned it's not a new power die because this is still within the realm of what your power can do, but it is like a sort of mobility effect. So if you keep working on this, eventually it will turn into its own D12. And then the power will become a new power because the effect on paper will be a mobility power, right? For the time being, it's going to be a subsection of your existing power. And I think you can sustain it for up to a minute before you have to stop and cool down. You have to like rest.
So what does that look like in combat, do you think? Or is that a question for a different day?
In combat?
Yeah, what is a minute in combat?
Well, we're working on the sort of standard tabletop RPG round of combat timing. So a minute is a pretty significant number of rounds in combat. And, you know, if you're going like pretty fast by shooting fire, it's a minute can get you pretty far.
Mhm. Nice.
Then like after the training, and I'm pretty sure Jeremy is now extremely tired. He'll look to Pantheon and just ask her if it felt this bad when she decided to retire for a bit, because oh boy.
Yeah. I mean, there are a lot of layers to what I was feeling at that time. And oh, are they ever so peeling back now again, deeper than even I thought. It's like I picked up right exactly where I left off. Honestly, the fear of losing all of you feels like it did before. But I feel like we can get a handle on it. Honestly, I don't think anything felt as bad as watching Fortress try to keep things together after she heard the name Vitriol in that room. Seeing nobody else even register that something was wrong, but knowing that I know her that well, and the pity that I feel for her, that of all the people in that room to be the one who knows her that well, that it's me. After all these years, what she has is still me. Trying to be enough. I think that's what hurts the most.
I think I don't know what I think. I try to keep doing the right thing, but it seems to be going wrong. No, not self-pity right now. Action. I think they might have a clone of Pillar. Because Norman said that there was something that when it awoke made his powers more.
I thought the same thing when you said it. Kind of can't stop thinking about it.
I wish I could stop thinking about these things. Just be a normal kid.
Unfortunately for you, and she puts a hand around your shoulder. Son, you get to be a superhero.
Oh boy, what fun. And I think at that, he just knocks out. He's out like a light.
Nope. Get in the shower before the assembly. You're not showing up to that thing smelling like burnt toast.
What a diss.
No, he's like out. He is asleep.
And she carries your dead ass back home.
Oh.
Just sort of puts you down as you're like groggily, vaguely aware of her presence, walking out at a normal human speed. and leaving you to rest with an alarm by your bedside that will give you enough time to hopefully clean yourself up before the assembly at 8.
And next to that alarm, a very cold, fully loaded baked potato,
Deep fried.
deep fried.
I don't know if that's real. It sounds like it probably is,
It
though. I
should
feel
be.
like
It
somebody
sounds
is.
like it's real.
It sounds like it would kill me.
It would. It would kill all of us.
Yeah. I have to think of a really good name for it too, because it can't just be the fried baked potato. It's got to be like the potato no or something. Like
The potato no? That's incredible. That's my
Just-
favorite thing.
that just kind of hits like the potato no, not the potato no.
Oh, either way, I dig it.
Yeah. This is the villain origin story for the deep fried baked potato, where one day some civilian sees it flying in overhead and goes, the potato, no. So, just superhero things.
The sequel to that film is Oh No, Baked Potato Fully Reloaded.
Yep.
That's so
Yep,
good.
Yep.
Oh, man. Yeah. That's amazing. And as Jeremy fades out of consciousness, he fades as the sun fades down the horizon. And we move back over to Haramone, where I have to ask you, are
No.
you meeting with Helix first and walking together?
Yes.
Okay.
So I probably would have asked him to. I would have gone there. We're like 3 houses down. I would have probably gone. This is not like a secret thing that I'm like going out. So I would have told Pantheon beforehand what was up and that I was bringing. I don't think I would have told her who, just for his own privacy, but that I was bringing someone. So I'm not going to be alone. And then I would have gone to Teen Tonitrus's house to collect him.
When you get there, I think he drops down from the roof. I think he was like sitting up on the roof, and like as you go to knock on the door, he like sort of lands down.
Oh my god!
And he's wearing a black long sleeve shirt with like a deep cut V. His hair is pulled back into his stealth formation. And he's got like a little belt, like a little makeshift utility belt that has something in it. You really don't know. He goes, I have everything we need. We shouldn't make a sound. How emergency is this emergency?
Well, it's not emergency per se. It's no, it's good. It's good to be prepared. Same brain. It's more like I wasn't expecting it today. I was expecting it, but not today, and certainly
Right.
not in the time frame that it is. Are you okay with missing this assembly? Maybe. I mean, gonna try not to
If we
miss it.
have to, but we shouldn't. I'm not going to leave you if that's what you're saying. I mean,
No, I just don't know how long it's gonna take, because
Right.
it was a clear but vague message at the same time.
well, it's
So,
not too far.
yeah, we just have to pick where I leave you.
Oh, leave that to me. If you don't mind. I have an eye for that sort of thing. Maybe, maybe I should put back the smoke pellets.
I mean, you never know.
Oh my God.
You never know what you might need them for.
You're right. I'll grab a few more. And he goes back inside.
Is the place we're going near his house?
The place you're going is not too far from the school. You
Okay.
could walk there within 20 minutes. It's a construction site that's sort of sectioned off.
Okay. So that. Okay. And I think once he gets his fun little smoke pellets, we start going. We go.
And you probably go like rooftop to rooftop as you watch him just silently just climbing, running.
Parkour.
Yeah. And you keep up with him, kind of running alongside him with the setting sun behind you. And there's something kind of freeing about it. And I think we see flashes of you running with echoes of other people you've run with in your life. And we see buildings swapped for trees. And then you're back in the moment. And he's standing in front of you. And you see that there's about a block of space, kind of an across the street situation, but it's like a very wide street. And you see this plot of land that is kind of by itself. It looks like there's enough space around it that they're trying to build like an executive park. It's probably going to be some kind of bank or something based on what you looked at.
Gross.
And there is a fence around it that like denotes it as a construction site, and it's like no entry. And you see that essentially the bones of this building have been fully constructed, but the trappings are not there yet. It's structurally secure, but doesn't have like outsides and walls yet.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
Mm-hmm.
And you see it there, and he looks at you and he goes, I'll find a place to camp out here.
Yeah. If I am in trouble for any reason, you'll definitely know.
He taps an earpiece.
Oh, you have some too? Nice. I think we take a moment to like sync.
You remember whose team I'm on, right?
It must be so nice. It must be so nice to just be given these things. Like, Silhouette made these.
Well, if it helps, we had to earn them. But that's a story for another time.
One I definitely would like to hear. Okay, guys, gotta go. Thank you. I'll see you in hopefully less than 45 minutes.
I'll be here, not watching, just here. And he like backs into a shaded corner.
Oh my god. Why are him and Teatro not hanging out? What the fuck? Okay, so I scramble down fire escape of a building, and I make sure the coast is clear, and then I do.
As you make your way over, you crest over the fence and into what looks like they've planted the grass, and it's just starting to grow here in the beginnings of this little park around this building. And as you start to step out onto that grass and like look around for where you need to go, very quietly you hear this like at your feet, and you look down and you see this small like short arrow that's in the ground a fair enough distance away from you that it's clear that it wasn't trying to hit you. But the fletching is distinctly Costati.
What the fuck is this, dude? And I start looking around as I'm picking up the arrow. Just, try to find where it came from.
The training kicks in, and you trace the trajectory of the arrow back up because you saw it sailing. It's a shorter arrow, and the fletching of it makes it go slower so you could watch the path. And you know that this is a way that attention can be gotten. This is something that you've probably learned about, where it's like, hey, look over here, so you can trace it. And you look up and you see a medium-sized shadowed figure standing up on a platform, maybe like 2 stories up. Stories? That might be the right word. Yeah. It's like midway up the building, but you can see this shadowed figure holding a bow now like at their side. And it just sort of steps back into the shadow a bit. after like sustained eye contact, there's like a nod.
I go.
So you climb on up.
Mm-hmm.
I don't feel like making you roll for it right now. Because you get there.
I fail and I eat shit on the ground, and Helix just sees me go, whoop.
Well, he said he wasn't watching.
That's what he said.
But you
He
make your
hears
way
you
up,
violently fall.
Yeah.
and you find your way up to that platform where you see, leaning with his legs crossed, is a figure, a man who you know to be Costati, a man that you've seen before, but not a man that you've ever interacted with. You see someone who is probably in his late 30s with jet black hair that looks like it's probably slicked and oiled, and the fragrance of it is familiar to you. It's pulled back into this bun that kind of explodes out the back of his head. Dude, words falling out of my brain. It's totally cool though. We're good. He's also wearing, it looks like he's not wearing Costati fashion at all. He is fully blended in. He's got just like a black hoodie. And he actually, I think he takes the hood down so you can see his face as he steps forward from that leaned position. And he straps the bow back. I think actually it's like a cool compound bow that he shrugs forward and it folds in on itself and he tucks it away.
We're big fans of compactable, like transformer type technology. Yeah.
He has deep brown skin, kind of a hooked nose, and very intense hawk-like eyes, one of which has a sheen to it that is just like ever so slightly off the color of his other eye, and there is a singular light-colored scar that travels down, like almost through the eye. And a name comes to your mind as he does the familiar gesture of greeting to you. And you remember that this man's name, you only know a first name. It's been told to you in passing, is Aditya. And you've only ever seen him hovering around in shaded corners, just barely in view of important meetings that you've been privy to. You've seen him escorting in parties with important diplomats back home, or distinguished warriors or politicians. You've only ever seen him hovering silently around important figures. But you've never heard him speak. And as he steps forward, he goes, "You look well, Selena."
What the hell are you doing here?
My job.
Well, yes, but I mean, I would like an explanation as to why you are here. Why do you have to be here?
If the council, would council be the correct word?
Council.
If you were referring to the group of people who gave you this mission, how would you refer to them?
I mean, there's only so many synonyms, so I think council is good.
Yeah.
Because I can't think of them right now. It's definitely not tribunal. So yeah, we can go with council.
Okay. If the council did not allow you to be privy to more information than you have, then it's not my job to tell you that. Suffice to say, you are not the only one watching and evaluating here. You have your duties and I have mine.
What? No. We're gonna back it up a couple steps. I'm not the only person here. When I was told that I would be,
You were told that you would be the only person who was evaluating the, shall we say, heroing community. That doesn't mean that there aren't others positioned watching other facets of this society. And he says that sort of biting off the word.
that's funny because that's not really how it came off to me when I was told to do this. But continue.
Well, your reaction now, to my eyes, proves their decision the correct one. You were given the information you needed and you've done your job quite admirably, actually. Are you going to allow me to respond to your report or not?
Yes.
Obviously, your recounting is somewhat mixed. These events that are unfolding here are disturbing and distressing. Well, I see you've grown a fondness for the people at your school, certain members of the community. That's good to see. My outlook's a little more bleak, if I'm being honest. See, I'm on the ground, unseen, watching what people do when they think no one's watching. And I've seen acts of kindness, moral grandstanding, but I've seen just as many pieces of selfishness that add up to a whole. And that hole is looking a bit of a black hole these days, collapsing in on itself. All this business with AID, what they call it. Talking about a law to allow psychic incursion against one's will. You can't dress that up, and the council is concerned. You see, my report's somewhat less favourable than yours. If things go south, we pull the plug. And that's always been on the table, and you know that. But if you're recalled home, you'll be expected to follow that order. Do you understand that?
Do I understand? Yes, I understand. Not a day goes by where I don't see everything that's happening out there happening to me. And I think about what happens if I'm pulled home. And I never see any of these people again. It was really hard to give that report as unbiased as possible. Because you're right. The grander things out there that aren't under the direct actions, control, whatever of the heroes I know, they fucking suck. They suck really bad. And something I did not include in my report is that it almost got me killed already. So I understand.
If your academy ends up on the chopping block, being raided by a government that may or may not be full of snakes, your position puts us all in danger. Do you think they'll stop at a person's mind the second they get a whiff of who you really are?
They get one person at that school, squeeze them tight enough to get the information about who you really are. That's all it takes. And it's done. I shouldn't have to tell you that this time, if it's done, it may be really done. No second chances. The shit that they're dealing with. Let's just say I don't want to see Alma decide that their reach extends beyond the places already in their grasp. And if it comes to that, your loyalties better be damn clear. That being said, as it stands, the council is impressed with you. Forgive me if I'm a little more skeptical, but that's my job. You will not have a way to contact me again. I will contact you with more information, and for the time being, you are to be exceptionally careful.
Understood. And as much as this conversation is infuriating for a couple of reasons, the straight shooting is appreciated. I would like to say that you're not in the room, and they will fight, not only to keep themselves safe and how this world of theirs runs, but they'll fight for me. They'll do everything in their power. Fortress and I have had countless conversations about my position and what it means. And we both understand that if I have to go, I have to go. So it's nice to know that they know I'm trying my best. It just is somewhat out of my hands if my best is enough. But
Well, I certainly hope you're right. You and I both know there's about 100 other people more qualified for the honor you've been given. So, until then, wait for the signal. He gathers up his bow again, and you see that he begins affixing this sort of geared mechanism. As he fires off an arrow, it creates this sort of zip line. And as he hooks the bow around it, you see a groove, and that the cable is like a cable, like a steel cable. And you hear this faint magnetic hum with what it, like the building that it connected to on the other side. And he turns back to you, only halfway, as so many people have done before. He goes, "Watch your back. A lot of knives out there." And then he zip lines away to the other building. The cable detaches and whoops back to the bow. And you see he disappears out of sight as he falls underneath one of the buildings.
Unfucking believable. Unbelievable, honestly. And I think Ramon is like muttering that all the way to getting back to Helix.
For my man's having never spoken to you before, he was incredibly aggro.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Why do you think Caramon is how they are?
Context, yeah.
And I all of that just to say that, like, no shit, like I've been so careful this whole time, but
you return to Helix as you find him, I think, with like, I think he has this grappling gauntlet underneath one of his sleeves, and he's like checking it systematically and like opening and closing different pouches on his utility belt and like making sure that everything is in place. And then as you approach,
Standing, sitting, standing.
he stands up when you get there, like really quickly.
I think Haremon just like glides into him and starts like headbutting his clavicle. Just like, I hate my job. But thank you. We can go back now.
Oh, it was no trouble. I mean, I have an opportunity to test some new equipment. Are you all right? I'm sorry, a lot of people are probably asking you that.
I was basically instructed to continue to be careful. Was told that I am doing a good job, but I should be prepared to leave and never come back depending on how things shake out with the current events of the city. So I was basically called out here for nothing because it's shit I already knew.
Well, I may not know every particular detail, nor do I need to, but from what I understand, you've been trusted with something beyond the understanding of a great many people here. It's probably better that way. And ultimately, regardless of what you may be told by any other person with their own biases, that trust comes with a sort of contract. An understanding that you're going to do what's right. Compartmentalize it that way. I would be surprised if you couldn't handle that. Me, I have grappling hooks. And, let me see, spearmint or cinnamon.
It's a cinnamon kind of day.
I'm inclined to agree. And he unwraps 2 sticks of cinnamon gum that he pulled from a pouch of his utility belt, hands one to you and one back to him, and he goes, the most important lesson from Tonotrus. One of these things is for gum.
He's a comedian now.
Sometimes you have to know how to read the rooftop.
They just keep coming. How long can you go for it? Come on. It's fine. It was a good run.
All right. We should it's getting late and dark.
Yeah.
And he begins to like triumphantly run across the rooftops again.
I think Haremon just like watches him go for a split second and is like, that's my friend, and then runs after him.
Hell yeah.
And we gather you all back together with every other member of this program, Champions program, waiting in front of all of these statues under the now only slightly distorted moonlight that streams through that strangely reflective energy barrier domed over the school. You all filter in some of your friends are happy to see you, but are just sad or nervous. I think some key players here are like all of Team Fulcrum are very supportive. They seem to be
Yeah.
acting like nothing is really wrong here. They're just here for you. I think Poltergeist in particular is very quiet, and Canvas and Knock Knock are ducklinging up behind him pretty strongly. Some of the students that you don't know as well, ones you haven't had as much contact with, seem much more cautious. They either keep their distance or they like huddle away from you. Between bouts of avoidance, you also see some hostility toward Jeremy, but nothing is spoken. And Menagerie does put himself between those looks and you. He goes, "Yeah, you may never get used to it, but you just block it out with different kinds of looks, like this one." And he smiles really big. Is the seat next to Team Pantheon taken?
I don't think so.
I think he's actually taking Harimone's spot. Harimone is not sitting with their team. Or if
Oh,
they
no.
are, they're sitting on the opposite side of Jeremy.
Gotcha.
Yeah. That Jeremy's on.
Well, good, because there are a lot of people who, well, want to reserve some prime seating. And suddenly you look around you and you see that a protective barrier of all of your friends has just naturally formed around you. You see Baby Loney and Knock Knock and Backtrack. Hecate is like there because her team is there, but like
Of course.
she seems like sort of at the people who are pissed off about this. Of course, all of Mr. Menagerie, the rest of Menagerie's team.
All of Mr.
Yeah.
Menagerie. His tits, his butt,
All of
his
them.
face, his
But
arms.
Monarch, Teatro, Matryoshka, all of Team Tonitrus, even Team Diamond Soul, who you've just had this kind of one experience with, are like standing firm behind you guys, but making room for the people who like are really close with you. And all of these friends that you've made, these connections, you find yourself back here now in this group of people that you just sort of gradually added to your roster of closeness, seeing it all here again where everything started, where once you walked in alone, then with one group, then with a few more, now having like most of this entire program in your corner, no matter what, feels different now. And you all walk in together as all of them just sort of sit around the nucleus of where you guys sit. As all of the members of Nova are gathered, and all of the squad leaders are gathered down below. Fortress lowers the podium. She doesn't actually like stand behind it. She seems to have some sort of like projection system, some sort of mic earpiece on or something. Or she's got like a lav. She's got some future lav situation. And she doesn't fly up above the level of the other heroes. She stands among them and looks out over all of you. And she says, "We've had a trying day. It does me well to see you all here together. I appreciate you taking the time to come to this assembly. I understand that you're scared. I understand that some of you may be angry. And you should be. But know this. Anger is just like a fire. And you see, like, Jeremy, because you're looking out for it, you can almost perceive her gaze holding on you for just a second, not long enough for anyone else to perceive, but you know she's speaking to you. Sometimes you can't help it burning up in a great blaze. But us, we make choices. And how we are judged and how we make our judgments, it all comes down to what we do with that fire. You can let it burn. You can funnel the burn into a place that you think deserves to be razed to the ground. And whether you're right or wrong, you'll find someday that that choice was irreversible. Or you can fan the flames long enough to see clearly. Make a furnace to create something new. And this is something new for all of us, not just in this room. I won't pretend that what's happening here is precedented, though there are disturbing echoes of the past. But each of you, during your time here, have proven yourselves time and time again. You've been tested, and not just by us. I know that we have not yet arrived at the true ending of this first trial period, this first semester, if you will. We still have a couple weeks left, or we're supposed to. But in light of what's happening, it breaks my heart to say I can no longer guarantee your safety here. Only that we'll do our best. But in the days to come, our best may come to fighting for you in the sanctity of this institution. And with that reality set before us, I cannot in good conscience continue to the end of this semester. You will be allowed to stay here, remain living here, even remain training if you so choose, but officially, we've all decided every single one of you has earned your license, and we'll be moving on to the following semester. But I warn you now, the landscape when we return may be, very probably will be, very different, more dangerous. And you deserve the tools to fight that for yourselves. You've earned that. But if any of you wish to leave until then, go home to your families, none of us will hold that against you, and you will still be allowed to return when you're ready. No matter where we are, we're still together. Remember that. And she looks down. As you see, Tonatrus is the first to step up beside her, and he takes her hand. And then Combio on the other side does the same thing, and one by one, they all do, including Pantheon. And the crowd of all the students are quiet. It's like waiting to see if anyone is going to make a move to leave. And the first person to stand is Poltergeist. And for a moment, you see like Knock Knock looking up at him. And the rest of the students, there's like a little bit of a gasp, and people are not sure if he's about to turn and try to leave. But then Knock Knock smiles. A smile of like, I know what he's about to do. And Poltergeist makes his way through the aisle and walks straight down toward the Nova members. He walks straight up to Combio. And he holds his gaze there, looking straight into Combio's eyes. And Combio puts a hand on his shoulder. And Poltergeist turns and stands there in front of his team leader. Then Knock Knock bounces up from her seat and just bounds down to stand there as well. And Canvas goes, "You all right?" And when Canvas gets up to go, then Mr. Menagerie goes as well. And then everyone, every member of the Champions program gets up and gathers on stage in front of their team leader. And there's a moment where Pantheon is just sort of like taken aback, like she doesn't really know what to do in this situation. And she's not really looking directly at you guys. She's just sort of like shifting uncomfortably, unsure of what to do.
I'll reach out and take her hand.
So you guys do go and you gather in front of her?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Hermon went, like, probably alongside Mr. Menagerie.
Same.
And put their hand over their chest and bowed very deeply for a couple of seconds in front of Fortress before going to stand with Pantheon.
And as you all do stand around Pantheon, Fortress does sort of make the rounds and end up with you guys. And she stands next to Pantheon. And they share this smile that is smiled through so much shared pain and love. And Pantheon squares herself up. And you see this shimmer of vibration, and suddenly she's wearing her costume. And she smiles a wicked smile at you, sort of blinks away tears that may have been forming. She goes, "Well, Team Pantheon, on to the next." And that's where we'll pick up next time.
Yay! What's gonna work? Teamwork.
Emotionally taxing episode.
Woo!
Truly.
Pendulum
Damn.
is real.
My favorite kind.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for joining us once again. We are deep into the meat of this mystery stew. No, I regret that one. I regret that one. I don't like it, but it is true. So keep it super. We'll see you next time. Goodbye.
Oh, you're on one. All of a
Yeah,
sudden.
I don't know why, but anyway.